Boom. We're live. Larry Lasky. We got audio?
Hey. Yeah.
Hey.
Larry Lasky.
Good to meet you.
Eyes in the flesh.
Good to meet you. I'm Jay. I'm the one who knows
Chris.
you online. There's Chris, my silent partner. Welcome to Hard Out, my favorite movie, with our guest Larry Lasky. Let me say quick, like all episodes into the foreseeable future, this one is brought to you by Cactus Jack, the movie we made. So stick around at the end, watch the trailer. But we're not here to talk about Cactus Jack. We are here to talk about Larry Lasky's favorite movie, which is
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And you are one of those guys, when I put this question out there, a lot of people hem and haw and torture themselves over it, and I'd be the same way. It's hard as hell to pick a favorite. That word itself is strange to me. But you had no qualms, took no time to think about it. You knew exactly what your favorite movie was.
As long as it took my fingers to type the answer.
And has it always been your favorite since day one when you saw it? Or did you ever vacillate on that?
You know, that's an interesting question. I think the first time I saw that film, I was probably around 4 or 5 years old. And so I think it probably alternated at that time between that and Tim Burton's Batman.
Okay.
At 5, I was obsessed. Everything was Batman. I'll be perfectly honest. I had the shoes. I had, I don't know if you remember, they had like that Warner Brothers catalog, and you could order anything from the catalog. And so my great-grandmother, for my birthday that year, she was like, "What do you want?" And, you know, being 5, I was like, "Everything."
Just
and so literally, she bought everything.
That's great.
So, but then,
still the coolest Batman
over
movie.
the years. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
But then
Jack
over the
Nicholson?
years, I would say
Michael Keaton.
I
want to get nuts. Let's get nuts. Fucking best shit ever.
But yeah, over the years, then I would say Raiders just kind of stuck in a way other films hadn't, especially as I became a writer myself, first as an amateur and then as a professional. I think my appreciation for the film just kind of grew and grew, and it really endeared itself to me and rose to the top.
Man,
kind of interesting.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's kind of interesting. Lawrence Kasdan also wrote my second favorite film, which is The Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
So he just
Every
had a killer
episode
run.
touches on Star Wars in them.
It does. It just shows that we know way too many geeky white dudes.
Present company included, myself.
Right.
What? Go ahead.
Well, Chris and we were just talking even before we sent you the link about how people go about choosing their favorite movies, and there's different ways to do it. There's your favorite that makes you feel like a child again, or there's your favorite just from a technical craft standpoint. You objectively think it's the best. Then there's the movie you take the most joy from, and then there's like your desert island movie. If you could only ever watch one movie again, what would it be? Sometimes that might overlap. In some cases, it might be different answers. With you, is Raiders like all of the above, or is it?
Oh, it checks off every box. Yeah, easily. In terms of the technical aspects, I'm sure you guys have seen people dissect turning it into a black and white film.
Yes.
And that black and white transfer.
Did that, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He even took out all the audio. He replaced it with a different score.
Right.
Just to show the composition shots. It is amazing. It's on his website. I highly, highly recommend it.
Soderbergh's the man, and props to you too for not giving a fuck about copyright or any of that shit with it. Like, so many people wouldn't do it. Our manager would tell us not to do it and shit. Probably
Soderbergh's doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
He's just all about the craft.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Just geeking out on this shit, and I mean,
for the right reason.
Black and white indie makes so much sense. I mean, it was inspired by the 30s serial, shit that George Lucas was inspired by.
And it's not just the way he lit each scene, but like, in that edit, again, he removes all the dialogue. He removes John Williams' score. He replaces the whole
purely about
score.
how it's shot.
You never miss anything because of the power of the visual storytelling.
Yeah. I think Spielberg, I remember seeing Spielberg say that specifically, that he says you should watch movies with the sound off sometimes if you're interested in filmmaking, because, you know, those who are proficient at it will be able to tell the story without any sound or dialogue. It's just, you know, you can
now,
track it.
I will say, I fucking love Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, My Dinner with Andre, Tarantino
Tape
movies, etc. Right. So, I mean, give me a break. You know, Richard Linklater's Tape, these dialogue movies, Woody Allen films that sound off. You're like, what the fuck am I watching? So there's different kinds of movies for sure.
Yes, different animals, right.
Yeah. But there is something to be said about the true cinematic language of storytelling, to tell a story through images, you know, and you can do that with Indy. I just watched it again last night, finished it this morning with my 7-year-old. He watched it for the first time. Fucking amazing.
Yes, experience. I wanted to ask you, what was that like watching it with those fresh eyes?
Beautiful. Now, my wife, bless her heart, covered his eyes for some of the gory bits, which I wouldn't have, and he was mad about. He actually literally said, "Mom, stop it. I have horror in my DNA."
Yes, he does.
Yes. I was like, yes, son.
Got that thorn DNA, man.
Yes, that's great. Shit.
Oh, but yes, that's awesome.
Like that face melting shit at the end was fucking delicious, man. Like delicious.
Next day she goes into work, he might be seeing that shit. Problem is, he's a tattletale. He'll dime me out. Otherwise, I'd secretly show him that shit. But
so did it capture his imagination?
Dude, let me say something though. And I mentioned this in our Star Wars review with Zart. Those fucking Lego video games spoil the shit out of all of these movies, and it pisses me off. Make Lego games inspired by. Give us new Indiana Jones adventures.
New adventures.
They ruined. He knew Kylo Ren was going to kill fucking Han Solo, and knew he was his kid. He knew all that shit before he saw the movie, because the fucking video game. And the same thing in this, when he goes to get the idol, he's like, he's going to grab it, and then the temple's going to start shooting darts at him and shit. I was like, God damn those games.
I forgot that they made an Indiana Jones.
See, I fucked up. I thought that was like my way in for him, because he's like 5 years old and already a gamer. I was like, oh shit, let's only introduce him to Indiana Jones, and he'll be primed and ready. When the movie comes, he'll want to see it. You know, it'll be like an event for him, like it was for us when we saw the trailer after fucking Flash Gordon or whatever and shit. We're older than you. And no, it was backfiring on me, man. It fucking spoiled all the good moments in the movie. And I'm one of those people, and I subscribe to that theory that spoilers don't necessarily ruin things for you when you're an adult. When you're a kid, the first time you see Indiana Jones, that shit should not be spoiled.
Yeah. Luke, you know, Darth Vader being Luke's father, you know,
exactly.
Legos.
Now, there were moments that weren't in the game, or he never played the entire game. So there was some shit like when Marion died, he's like, oh, she's dead? They killed her? In the explosion in the truck or whatever, that moment where you think she died. So then when he sees her in Belloc's tent, he's like, yes, you know. So there were still some good moments. But
oh my gosh, so I was watching it earlier. I watched it today, and I just had to ask you guys, did you notice that hilarious moment where the fly crawls into Belloc's mouth? Belloc's mouth.
Yes.
I was like, what a fucking pro actor, dude. That's like,
right.
Like Ashley Simpson should have watched that before her Saturday Night Live appearance or whatever. She would have just trucked through that lip singing debacle or some shit somehow.
I just cracked up. I was like, it's the Pence fly.
Yeah, he didn't skip a beat. That shit.
The Pence fly,
yeah.
The Pence fly strikes.
Or the Ted Cruz fucking
it's like
tonsil stone or whatever that was on his lip.
Yes.
One of my favorite moments in any movie ever is when the guy's slinging his swords around and shit, and and Indy just fucking shoots him and walks off.
Mythic.
But do you know the story behind that scene? That it was supposed to be this big fight, but Harrison Ford wasn't feeling that well that day. He had like diarrhea or some shit.
He had dysentery.
Yes, dysentery. So he was like, I can't do this fight scene. So they're like, all right, how about he just swings his swords around and you just fucking shoot him? And then it turns into one of the best moments in cinematic history.
It is the moment that makes Indiana Jones the coolest motherfucker.
It really is.
I ain't got time.
That says it all.
Like, says I'm making this up as I go along, you know.
There's a quote from Ford where he was discussing that, where he talked about, he said, and his exact quote was, I said to Steven, let's just shoot the fucker.
That's one of the best quotes.
So perfect for
Let's just shoot the fucker.
I was trying to watch some of the making of and turn the kid onto that too, because he knows I make movies. He's seen
the making of
bloody hands and shit down here. And unfortunately, because of our movie Cactus Jack, he had seen like the Nazi symbol, so I'd already explained that to him. Oh my god! Watch our trailer, folks. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my god, that trailer is great.
Yeah, he was like, God, I hate that Nazi symbol, Dad. Why do you have that thing? I'm like, man, trust me. It's props. But
I was on the website the night it was going live. I kept waiting for the trailer to pop up on you guys. And finally you sent me the link like right after. I was like, yes.
It's crazy, dude. We're proud of it. It'll be out in January. But
I am so happy for you guys.
It was fun, man.
Really
it was crazy.
We've
been at it a while, you know, just to make our own film.
This was a passion. This was the passion project.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's weird to say. It's not that I really want to make this movie about this fucking nasty skinhead guy, but we wanted to make a film, and we always have been super interested in that kind of film, you know?
Yeah.
Mississippi Burning, Trying for the Spirit.
At Pupil.
American History X, of course. Mm-hmm. All that kind of shit to me is just fascinating as a kid. Any KKK shit. We grew up as white kids in a black neighborhood in D.C., basically, in the Beltway.
Okay.
And never understood the whole hate thing. We're like, what is going on, dude?
I know, like, naturally, because we're the only white kids in the neighborhood, our best friends are all black and stuff, and we're just like, why the fuck would anyone hate anyone just because their skin color is different? It's such an absurd notion.
And of course, sometimes we would get fucked with, understandably, because we're the icons of whiteness in that neighborhood. So some kids were like,
our enemies were black too.
But
so interesting.
So that's why we made that movie. But our movies that we loved as kids were Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, Indiana Jones is still Harrison Ford, that era, stubble Harrison Ford, even better than Han Solo. Give him that fucking 5 o'clock shadow. That is my icon of masculinity. Indiana.
You know, and it's so interesting.
I was going to say that when he was injured, and he's like telling Marion where it hurts, you know. And she gives it a kiss, each spot where he says he's hurt, you know, from having been through all this shit and beat up and stuff. And then he just points to his lips here. You know, it's fucking awesome, man. I was like, that dude's a player.
It's not the year, son. It's the mileage.
Yes. What were you saying, though, dude? You were starting to say something.
Oh, I was saying that's so interesting that Ford really wanted to play up the academic side of him as much as the action side. He's really adamant about him being a professor. And you see him when he's, you know, not rugged, badass Indiana Jones. He's kind of a nerd. He's, you know, he's at the board. He's a geek.
Yeah. When he's even taken aback.
He's a nerd hero.
The student, it's all chicks. I even said that to my son. I was like, check it out. This whole class is all like young chicks. They're all in love with him because he's fucking Indiana Jones, you know.
The eyes,
and then she blinks, "I love you" or whatever. He's taken aback by that because he doesn't see himself. He sees himself as a nerd. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, not long ago he was just some book
Harrison
nerd,
Ford
and suddenly
infuse that into it to the point where the character truly sees himself not as some badass, but he's like a principled nerd who kicks ass because
principled nerd,
bad
name.
We gotta nice. He's like, we gotta get this shit. This shit belongs in the museum. You know, the whole
it's all in the name of history, preserving history.
Exactly. And then even at the very end,
that belongs in a museum.
Yes, at the end of Raiders, how mad and defeated he is and frustrated when the CIA goons won't let him even see the Ark or know where it's been put or anything, you know. It's like it's because of the artifact aspect of it, the historical value of it, you know.
That's when Belloc calls his bluff, you know, right before all this. He's got the bazooka, he can destroy it right there. And Belloc looks at him and he's like, nope, you're not going to do it.
Brilliant.
It was beautiful.
Brilliant.
Belloc's
great. It really does hit all the cylinders. I can absolutely see why you would choose this as your favorite movie. It's definitely, I can see.
Dude, watching it again, it might be mine.
Yeah.
God damn it.
You know, it's fascinating, though, that there's no arc for Indy. He doesn't have,
which is ironic,
any transformation. He doesn't.
No.
He doesn't change.
I could talk at length about this.
He
Okay, I want to hear what you think his arc is. I'm
He
dying
starts
to
the movie when the CIA guys first come to him, the intelligence guys, and he starts the movie talking about all that mumbo jumbo, whatever, if you believe it. So he's in effect an atheist, or at least an agnostic. But by the end of the movie, he's the one saying, close your eyes, close your eyes. He's a believer. It's really about Indy finding faith. But I think they fucked that up when they made Temple a prequel, because he should have already had faith in the supernatural.
Yeah, right.
So now maybe he wouldn't have believed in Abrahamic Judeo-Christian supernatural shit or something. So you could still, but I do think that it is about him coming to respect the power of God and the actuality of God, you know?
Do you think so? I mean, I don't
think it was a conscious thing. I don't think they wrote it with that arc, but I think it's there thematically.
It's this intrinsic thing that
I just didn't ever pick up that he doubted the religious power of these items, or that they were real. He seems very knowledgeable and very gung-ho right from the start.
The mumbo jumbo line. Now, I haven't watched it as recently. Jay and you both have watched it like in the last day.
Since that dawned on me watching it years ago, I see that now, and to me it feels obvious. If maybe next time you watch it, watch that scene specifically, because he does say,
I'll watch it with that in mind.
Hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo. Essentially, he looks at these things as artifacts of historical value. He doesn't look at them as religious, supernatural.
Until the ending, when he's telling her to close her eyes.
Yes.
You know,
I'm gonna keep that in mind next time I watch it.
You know, Carl Sagan sang the praises of Scooby-Doo because it did the opposite of basically what we're saying Indiana Jones does, which is Scooby-Doo always starts with them thinking it's supernatural and it's a ghost or something, and then in the end it's just some masked guy, you know?
Right.
So this kind of has the opposite effect.
Now, if you want to just use this as a jumping off point, because you can only talk about a movie so much, we like to just have discussions centered around the movie. As a writer, which you are, I'm totally anti-transformative arcs. I hate it that every movie and every exec who's read Save the Cat or whatever thinks you have to shoehorn in this transformative arc in a movie. That shit rings false to me. So what you're saying about Indy not having one, to me, is a plus. I don't know if you're looking at it as a plus, but you're just saying maybe it's not normative.
I don't view it as a flaw at all.
Exactly.
I just can picture some executive today, ragging that he has to have some fatal flaw that costs him what he's looking for at the end of the second act. So then he can redeem himself and
I hate that
complete his arc and get the item. Blah blah blah.
Like as much as I love is necessary to achieve your goal. You always have to change. Like no, sometimes it's the right guy for the right fucking job.
Bond never changes. Bond is Bond.
As much as I love Groundhog Day, that always bothered me about the way it ends, like where the way he finally Bill Murray stops repeating his same day over and over is because he arcs, essentially, right? Like he starts making it about everyone else instead of himself.
Now, that's at least the point of the movie almost. That's like a Scrooge tale where it's really about...
I was going to say, it's literally the exact same arc he has in Scrooged.
Yes. It's like becoming altruistic. The selfish guy becomes altruistic. He's a better person for it, But to insist
it's just a weird
that every
mechanism.
movie has to have... Yeah, I know. But
first off, you see Indy's arc is more thematic, which I think...
I think it's something, though, that you just tease out. I think it's something that's there because... we write stories where, of course, plot impacts character and shit, and it's just inherently going to take care of itself. And good stories have that sometimes they don't. And if you want to go back to the classic Greek interpretation, a tragedy is essentially a story where a fatal flaw does lead to a character's downfall because they don't change. A comedy isn't necessarily funny. A comedy is where someone maybe changes transformatively to not be destroyed,
the traditional
more of a positive
version of the definitions.
Exactly. The
two masks,
dramaturgical term or whatever. But now for me, I think TV is a place where arc could work because to me, real humans are very, 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 very rarely changed by a transformative moment. And if they are, it's something that should set their trajectory. I think if you're going to force an arc into a movie, it should be like an Act 1 thing. Like an inciting incident changes the course of this guy's life or something. You know what I mean? I hate these movies where you have to buy the break into 3, change to then win the day or whatever. It feels so false to me that people just don't. Usually the problem with most people is they don't change. Or if they do, it's not necessarily in a good way. And if they do, it's not because of one moment. It takes years of effort, falling down. You know, it's a roller coaster towards change. It's not just...
As you said, it's that save the cat effect.
Yeah, I hate that shit. The first script that we got signed at WME with and had success with or whatever, Mechanicsville, we put a cat named Snyder in the movie and had rabid dogs maul it and kill it. So, how's that, Blake Snyder? No offense.
Hilarious. You know, something else I noticed, and again, these aren't things I think of as a negative, but I just think they're kind of an interesting observation, is that Indy's goal in this film, nothing would have changed if he hadn't gone on this adventure. The ARK still would have ended up in their hands. It still would have been opened. The Nazis all would have still died.
Interesting. But see how he could have just
had no effect
and picked up the trash, basically.
Yeah.
They were all dead.
That is good. A good point.
Very interesting. Yeah, I never
the
thought of
only difference would have been that at the end, the ARK would have ended up left on the island, deserted, lost, as opposed to stuffed into a warehouse.
Which may be the better outcome than some random motherfucker coming across it, you know, just in this like sea of corpses.
Oh, what's this
like,
thing?
Becoming God.
That is hilarious, but that's kind of how shit works.
Yeah,
that's kind of how the real world is. That we don't have that much impact on history and shit. You know, it's these little pebble drops, but no.
Hey, but Indy's all about Indiana Jones. Whether we're talking Raiders or the later films too, is all about the nobility of failure. Indy is constantly losing the thing that he's going for. I don't think he ever actually gets the thing that he wants, except the opening scene in The Last Crusade. I think that's the only time we see him succeed.
No, he doesn't.
When he gets it from the guy
on the ship
years later.
Right.
Otherwise, he constantly loses the thing that he's going for.
Yes,
that's what
like
makes
Charlie
him so
Brown
endearing.
with the football.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Charlie Brown, right? Exactly. And I think it was, you know, Terry Rossio and Ted Elliott have their column. I think they were talking about, I might be misattributing this to someone, but that, you know, or like Die Hard's another example of this, where
getting your ass kicked.
The hero, by the end, the character is bruised and battered and their shirt's torn to pieces and they're covered in blood and mud and shit. You know, there's something satisfying about that. And it makes them more relatable, you know, to you that, you know, you're on their side. You want to all that with them.
From a
as an action writer, I have to leave my character beat to shit by the end.
It's like they got to earn it.
It's a crucible, man. And just structurally, that's so satisfying to write, say, sequence method. But with each one, he's failing. That's the beauty. So many writers will make it that he achieves his goal. He gets the piece. That's a lot of Lord of the Rings type shit. It's almost video game like. I need to achieve this goal to then be able to move on to the next step. You know, the beauty is in subverting all that. And it's like, no, you fuck up, you keep failing. And now you need to stumble and recover. And now your goal changed because you fucked up. You didn't win that sequence. Now you got to fucking regroup, you know? Yeah.
I mean, that's the first scene we meet him in, is going after, you know, this idol.
Yeah. Belloc.
And he gets it.
This is iconic.
And he gets it. And then he gets out and there is Belloc waiting for him.
Yes.
And he takes it and he
There's
tells
nothing you can attain that I cannot take away.
Yes, exactly.
It's constantly delighting you. You know, like it's like on the way in, there's poisoned arrows, and there's, you know, and then there's the throw me the whip out, you know, throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip, and there's treachery throughout, and being chased by the natives. Snake on the plane, and Belloc, of course, and I mean, it's totes, and it's just constantly just delighting is the best word I can think of. Just it really, I mean, constant.
And you don't know
the idol or the medallion. Oh, but on the other side, see, it burned.
Take away one kadam.
Yeah, but on the other side, take one away for Allah or whatever. Yes, exactly. I mean, the well of souls being filled with snakes. The propeller death of
Yes.
the strong man. It's just fucking constantly
Best shit ever, dude.
just
And all these great side characters, like you were just touching upon. Belloc, Toad.
Toad's the shit.
The
Peter
shit.
Lorre,
the coat hangers.
Yes.
The coat hanger bit. I saw an interesting trivia bit. The coat hanger bit. The coat hanger bit. He had been trying to work into 1941 with some Nazi character, and it just didn't make it in the movie. So this is a bit
It's one of those
that he had been working on for ages, and he kept in his back pocket, and finally gave to Tote in the perfect fucking moment. I mean, the way the actor delivered, whoever played Tote, I don't know his name.
Yes.
Fucking
great.
There weren't many scenes. It was just like like 4 scenes or whatever it was. I mean, just
the cameo on the plane.
Not many lines. You know. But, what'd you think of the sequels then? So there's the Temple of Doom and the Last
Crusade. It's great.
Yes.
Temple of Doom's great, but you got to start with Crystal Skull.
Temple of Doom is
Crystal Skull,
Spielberg. You see it in Raiders. I think you mentioned about the gore earlier. You see kind of the schlocky, B horror elements that Spielberg sometimes loves to indulge in.
Which is
and Temple
not
of Doom
negative necessarily. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
and Temple of Doom is him going all out with it.
Yes.
Whether it's the chilled monkey brains or the Kalima heart, the insects, it's him going full out with his
the heart thing. Yeah, that was great.
With his really playful, gross out humor that he likes to indulge in now and then.
Yeah, I remember really being excited by it at the time when it came out. I loved it. All of them, all 3 of them really did it.
The Last Crusade, though, is pure heart. And that's what
it is.
That's
Sean Connery, rest in peace. Shota.
River Phoenix. And rest in peace to both of them. River Phoenix, fucking legend.
Kills it in that first scene.
What other young actor would have fucking sold that shit like that? Just like Harrison Ford, there's the whole Tom Selleck, Tim Matheson, Otter from Animal House at one point auditioned was in the running to be Indiana Jones. Tom Selleck they wanted and gave the part to, except the fucking executive, whatever network Magnum PI was on wouldn't let him.
So that's really funny. Magnum had only been a pilot at this point. It wasn't even going to get made. They were going to shelve it. Then they heard that they wanted him for Indiana Jones. And then the network went back, looked at Magnum, and said, "Wait, maybe there's something here."
Now he's something to him.
It's like the guy who made Jaws and Close Encounters wants him.
So Indiana Jones gifted us with Magnum PI.
He got it did because again, Harrison Ford. I mean, there's certain roles, and there's only a few of them really. Because Chris and I loved the alternate universe Dreamcast. I can't do it, Indiana Jones. No one else should play that motherfucker.
Someone needs to make the deep fake.
Yes, we talked about
Tom Selleck,
that all-controlled delete
Magnum era Selleck with the mustache.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, as well as Stoltz in Back to the Future. Someone needs to fucking.
Well, they actually shot for 6 weeks in that shit.
Yes, but they need to take the existing movie and make it Stoltz.
That would be amazing.
Makes me wonder if there's any.
Here, make it Stoltz from Mask.
Song name.
Makes me wonder if there's any audition footage
of a Mask.
If there's any sort of, if there's any rehearsal footage that they filmed with Selleck reading the lines at all.
There is some. I saw some on my Blu-ray package. They showed some. There was him auditioning with some other chick. It wasn't Karen Allen, who we need to talk about too. Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Out of all the chicks in those movies, I remember as a kid always thinking that they got progressively hotter as they went.
Yeah.
But I don't think so.
My appreciation.
Karen Allen.
It's Karen.
Totally. Wow.
And what a great character. I mean, just when you think about the 30s, talking about the German chick, the great the noir aspect of it, the tough talking dame who just won't take shit, who's been burned too many times. She's fucking awesome. She kind of needs to be rescued, and it's weird they put her in the dress and everything, because if you look at it, there's that iconic red pantsuit shit she has, like when she dined out by the monkey and shit. It's like she's in this Arab country, essentially, a woman wearing pants and shit. That was pretty progressive if you think about it. Now this is pre-50s where the Middle East kind of went to shit, but
no shit. Yeah, it was before Mossadegh was overthrown and shit.
Yeah, it's set in 1936.
Before BP and the CIA and Kermit fucking Roosevelt got their hands dirty.
It truly is a perfect movie, technically, though. I mean, I was watching it again. Every single fucking shot is the shot to make. Like, we just had a episode we did on Jaws, and I was talking about how Spielberg is 26 when he made Jaws, and I wonder if he watches Jaws, if he's like, I would have done these things differently. But I feel like Raiders, like, I kind of nailed that shit. Yeah, on Spielberg, I watched Raiders. I'm like, I don't know if I'd fucking do anything different.
Wouldn't change a thing.
I didn't realize he was that young when he.
I know. Isn't that depressing?
It is depressing.
It is.
Well,
but if you think about it, Raiders was like the anti. I don't know if you've ever looked at like the behind the scenes about Raiders, but Raiders was like the anti-Jaws experience. Raiders, they were given, I believe, an 85-day filming schedule and came in at 73 days.
Crazy.
So he was determined to get this done and get done on time.
And if he pleases the studio, then he gets to make more. They trust him, you know. I mean, it's
well. In Jaws, I was watching some of the Jaws bonus features too because we just did a podcast on it, and he did talk though about the problems of making that movie. How say we finally got our shot all set up, everything's great. I say roll sound, roll picture, action. We're 10 feet away from where we set up. Because we're all fucking on the water, drifting around. Everything's just a nightmare. So I could easily see that going over budget, et cetera. Plus, that was a IP with a huge bidding war over the source material and shit for the novel Jaws. You know, Indiana Jones, the only thing he had going for it really was how Lucas swung and hit a fucking grand slam with Star Wars. Otherwise, they said every studio passed on it at first. Like, I mean, no one wanted anything to do with it, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Finally, they got Harrison Ford, and they even talked. Lucas was like, we should just make this down and dirty and as fast as we can for as low a budget as we can, et cetera. And Spielberg's like, fuck yeah, that's how I want to make it. So that probably speaks to what you just said, that they came in under budget early, you know.
Yeah, he was Paramount when they financed it. They gave them, they had a really nice, first dollar gross deal with it, but part of that was contingent on coming in at budget on time. Paramount put them, under the gun to make this thing. We'll make your movie, but this isn't going to be Jaws. This isn't going to be Close Encounters. This is going to be fast. It's going to be down and dirty. Get it done.
What lightning in a bottle, though. And here's something we talked about, too, and I think one of the reasons Kingdom of Crystal Skull sucks is practical effects for CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And, like I was telling my kid, I was like, you see that explosion right there? They blew shit up. That's an explosion. To make a movie, you get to blow things up sometimes, but I can't even say that to them anymore. I can't be like, dude, if you become a movie maker, you get to blow shit up. You don't. Now it's all done on fucking computers by some dude in fucking India or whatever. It's crazy.
That is the hill I will die on. Even the worst practical effects will look better.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Mediocre CGI.
Preach.
I will go so far as to say some of the best CGI won't look as good as mediocre practical effects. I mean,
yes, it's physically there, something tangible.
Yeah.
You can't even describe it. Ask people to describe sometimes why something doesn't look or feel right, and
the uncanny valley,
it's hard to even
and that
pinpoint
sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, go look at the Avengers films and go look at, I love them. The Russos are amazing, but go look at some of the last shots of like Infinity War, where they clearly have Don Cheadle's head CG'd onto this War Machine body, and it looks awful. It looks terrible, and it's one of the last shots of the movie.
I really have a hard time caring in movies like that. Like, dude, take the Clash of the Titans remakes. Give me that.
Right. The original, man.
Original shitty Scorpion that he's fighting.
Claymation fucking, yes.
Yeah.
Harryhausen. Yeah, exactly.
It's like an art form, it's like that's part of the appeal is the obstruction, the fact that they had to figure out a way to do it that wasn't just,
how can we take material things and sell this illusion or whatever? Just pushing a bunch of buttons and cheat. Fuck all that, man. Sucks the fun out of it, the magic out of it. And honestly, I stopped caring. I don't care as much. You put a person opposite a puppet, I care more. It's weird, dude.
Right. The rush in The Last Jedi when Yoda appears, and it's the puppet Yoda. It's not that CGI Phantom Menace, prequel era Yoda. It is Frank Oz's puppet there, and Rian Johnson was just brilliant to use it. And there's a certain rush that comes in that moment because it looks right.
Are we going to end yet another episode talking about The Last Jedi? every favorite movie episode seems to.
The hilarious thing is Chris and I are freaks. We like Todd Solondz movies, of course, and Haneke and Gaspar Noé and Gregor Rocky and shit, like weird shit. So it is funny that so many of these are going to come to Spielberg flicks from the 80s.
Now, did you know? I didn't know until just the other day, which is weird because, again, this is my favorite film of all time. I didn't realize that Lucas had crafted the original story with Philip Kaufman, and that Kaufman had been his initial choice to direct the film as well.
Yeah, and he crafted it before Star Wars even. He had Indiana Jones and Star Wars both kind of thought out, and he didn't know which one he wanted to do next, but he went with Star Wars, Yeah,
this idea kind of stewed from the early 70s on. It was a long gestating project for Lucas.
Which is cool. And so, again, informed by his childhood and the pulp shit that he grew up on,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Tarzan, Zorro, all those old serials.
Alan Quartermain type shit.
Yes.
King Solomon's Mines. Remember that Richard Chamberlain, King Solomon's Mines?
Yeah.
Knockoff. The only good thing about it was hot young Sharon Stone. Like 80s Sharon Stone. Oh, yeah.
Total Recall era.
Yes, exactly.
So, do you have a second favorite movie?
I mentioned Empire Strikes Back.
Right. Yes.
Again, Lawrence Kasdan. Not because we're both named Lawrence either. So.
I thought you were going to say The Big Chill and shit, man. Body Heat. What are you doing here?
Empire was.
Didn't Kasdan write dude? What was that fucking terrible Stephen King movie? Duh. The one we make so much fun of.
Oh, with Morgan Freeman.
Dreamcatcher. Kasdan made that shit. Like, what happened?
Yeah, but then he goes and he writes The Force Awakens, which is a brilliant script.
All right, see.
That's another podcast. Or is it? How much time do we have left?
Minefield.
We probably got like 20 minutes left. I don't know. We're just not. Okay. Look at the kind of movies I said we like and shit. So
yeah,
the new ones.
There's just so many amazing.
I prefer to see Subversion.
Yeah,
but with like Raiders especially, there's so many what ifs, so many things that could have happened differently. It could have been a movie, directed by Philip Kaufman, starring Tom Selleck.
I know. It would suck.
What would that film have been? You can't help but wonder about it.
There's no way.
I know.
No offense to Philip Kaufman or anything, but there's no way I would have just watched it with my son and came away saying I wouldn't change a single fucking shot in that movie or whatever. Spielberg is a savant. He truly is.
He knows.
He was directing Jaws at 26 because we were just talking about this previously too. When he was a teenager, he was like jumping the studio wall and going in and finding the fucking head of production, I think, and just telling him, I'm going to make movies here one day and shit.
It's in his DNA.
Always knew, driven to do it, was directing TV episodes at 20 years old. I mean, who does that? Not now. Yeah. Wonderkin phenoms don't do that. Like, I mean, he is the guy just born for this.
I mean,
shit.
It's one of a kind. It's once in a lifetime, once in a generation sort of filmmaker.
Like, I was watching Bound recently, the Wachowski movie, back when they were still Larry and whatever the fuck, right? Early, their first movie. And there's so many cool angles and innovative shots. And, they shot this one fucking bird's eye, and this one worm's eye, and this one that, and this one that. And, kind of Fincher-esque where let's follow the phone cord through the wall with the phone call. You know what I mean? Tricky kind of shit. Spielberg doesn't do any of that shit.
Right.
Ever. It's just find the best place to put the camera where I'll move it from here to here. And it's a perfect frame shot. And it's
we know how telephones work or whatever. Like, I think it's because at the time it was something you couldn't
film
impressive to pull off, but at this point it's like, who cares if you do that stuff, it really is more about the story. And the character.
There's a confidence with him, but he was so young, and I always wonder, was he really that confident, or was inward every day, minor panic attack
Spielberg?
At the start? Yeah.
I get the impression from the making of shits I've been seeing that he's just, this is what I do. I feel like he truly had the confidence, and he truly just.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in the way. True, though. It's almost like a zen. It's like a zen or a Tao to it because there's such simplicity. Yeah. Like, I'm
just kind of knew
he has a vision.
It was what he was destined for. You're
not doing anything. Well, I mean, just shot by shot, even. Like the shot the framing up is just true. It's perfect. It's like you're not taking a risk. That's the thing. He's not framing anything risky. He's not making a bunch of crazy artistic shots like Nick Refn might do or something,
Or even Scorsese, with Gangs of New York and stuff. He had these weird, sometimes effects and things, and you don't really get that with Spielberg. It really is. He doesn't get in the way that much.
Solid,
but more storytelling. He knows. He knows. Like we talked about a lot lately, Jay and I, moments in films. That he just knows moments, like or in scenes, scene work, character, all these sorts of things. Storytelling, though, is really ultimately it. He just knows how
and he's still doing it. You look at like that great Shining sequence in Ready Player One.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I know. That blew my mind. I was like, what is happening?
You have to watch it.
Yeah, like it was very referential for something that maybe some of its audience wasn't even that knowledgeable, which is great because it turns them on to it and stuff.
I didn't even know you watched that shit, dude. It's awesome.
I did, yeah.
There was a great story I read about Kubrick's daughter interrupting the filming of Raiders. Actually, apparently he was filming The Shining at the same time, and it had to be nearby. And his daughter Vivian found out about the snakes that they were using, and she was concerned that the snakes were being abused. Yeah. So she contacted the RSPCA and reported them.
Daughter. That sounds about right.
I love this.
And were they harmed or no?
No. So Spielberg and them, they had to go assure everybody that the snakes were not being harmed, that they were being treated.
I was watching a making of thing today, and the kid actually watched this bit with me, the snakes bit. Of course, there was the glass with the cobra, but that cobra did spit.
Yeah.
You can see
venom at him in the glass.
You can see it for a moment.
Yeah. Harrison Ford talks about that too. He's like, you can barely see the reflection, but there was a couple takes where it spit venom at the glass, and they were all just like, "We got to get this done and get the fuck out of here."
Good thing we got the glass.
But they had about 2,000 snakes, which sounds crazy, right?
Wow.
And there were
a
dozen snake wranglers there with all these live snakes, and a bunch were fake mechanical snakes or whatever. But a ton of
some garden hose,
dude. Spielberg's like, this shit's just not working. We need 7,000 to 8,000 more snakes. I need 10,000 snakes in there for this shit to work.
10,000
so they ended up having to get 10,000 snakes and calling every animal.
Another band name, heavy metal band name.
Yeah,
10,000 snakes.
Yeah, they had to get all the snakes. They didn't have enough anti-venom for it all as well, so they had to get anti-venom in case people got hurt.
I mean, okay, the cobra, maybe you need a real cobra, but all the rest, they just be non-venomous?
Most of them were. The pythons, was it the DP? No, the AD, the assistant director, got bit by a python, Spielberg said.
Which they're not
latched
venomous.
on his hand. He's like, they're not venomous, but it will not let go.
So
this thing just latched on him, and he couldn't get it off his hand. And then one of the wranglers was like, snap its tail. So somebody grabbed the tail of it and snapped it, and the thing just let go.
One of the stuntmen actually had to double as Marion, so he shaved his legs and wore the dress, and they filmed his legs for one of the.
That to me is the beauty of movie making.
It is. It
Nowadays,
really is. So he was like out on the
snakes, right? So it'd be her real legs. There's so much less illusion and sleight of hand and shit.
So this guy was out in Hollywood. Hey, I was just in this movie. He's got these shaved legs, like like if he hooked up that night, he had to explain his shaved legs. Well, I was in a movie.
Clueless. Nice stems.
Oh man, yes.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to say real quick. I don't know what time we have from when these go well. We have no idea, and it comes up on us quick. But didn't you co-write a script with Gail Hansen?
Our boy.
Yeah. Gail and I have been working off and on something for the last couple years. years. It's a little bit of a passion project that we keep circling back to. Gail is a very close friend of mine, and he actually knows my he knows my kid sister as well. We're all really close. I know his son. So yeah, we're kind of all
Dead Poets Society. For people who don't know, Gail Hansen was an actor. He played Charlie Dalton, Nwanda in Dead Poets Society, one of the all-time great raconteur characters. Which
was my
Dead Poets Society is in our running. At one point, it was probably our favorite movie collectively.
I had like 3 copies somehow.
Right. It's like then you got the VHS, the DVD, 2 DVDs, exactly. The special edition, whatever. And he became an executive later, and I think it was either the first or second meeting we ever had in Hollywood was when he was at Relativity.
The VP,
and we went in to meet him, and we found out, like, wait, that's talking about fucking Nwanda?
Yeah,
we went in for
I know,
a meeting.
Blew our minds.
And we go in there. It was just a general meeting off of that script where we killed Snyder the cat and shit. And we go sit in there, and he's just like, Thornton Brothers, all right, go. He did that Hollywood shit on us. So we're like, go.
And he goes, you guys funny? Be funny, you know, basically.
How hilarious, dude. Like, yeah, it was, we felt so on the spot, man. Like our first or second meeting ever. Like, you know how much pressure you put on yourself going into those things until you realize they're such circle jerks, it really doesn't matter and shit.
But so, you see, he went through the list of the projects they were working on, I remember, and he seemed to be really passionate about them all and stuff.
Yeah, so no, he's just a cool dude.
Yeah, he was an early,
he supported us a lot.
That's how he and I initially met, was him championing. He was a very big champion of the script that was being chased by several studios at the time, including Relativity. And, you know, we met professionally that way. And then over the years, we just became
cool. We don't hear about that
really good friends. I mean, to the point where he, you know, not being hyperbolic at all, I consider him almost like family. He's basically like honorary family.
That's right. Hey, Gail, you got to come on the show. Let's hear about Gail Hansen, Nwanda's favorite fucking movie.
He is one of the best guys you could ever.
Yeah, I think he might even thrown in on the Cactus Jack fucking crowdfunding.
And when we put out our novels, Reapers, he you know, shared it, you know, on Facebook and stuff. You know, he was a good job.
Now the crazy thing is, I have to confess this: I've never seen Dead Poets Society.
Oh my God, you're missing out. That reminds me.
I didn't even know. And then I was on like Twitter with him, and I kept seeing all these different people post. Yes,
let girls in heaven.
I was like, why are they calling him this? What is this?
That's amazing. No, dude, he's one of the great characters.
Possibly the best character in it, in a way. I mean, Robin Williams, of course, you know, like iconic as fuck. But
if not Robin Williams,
I remember when I was a kid watching this. Nwanda was the man. You know, he was like the pussy hound. You know,
he's like John Bender in Breakfast Club. Right.
Yes.
Rebel.
The opening scene that they have an assembly, and this is a really like it's a prep school for college, but really like Ivy League people, you know, like
all boys.
And the opening scene is like the premiere of the school delivering this very sober speech or whatever, and then this phone starts ringing, and it's Nwanda, Gail Hansen's character, standing up with the phone going, "It's God. He says you should let girls into Hellman." Yeah,
Hellman was the name of the school. They called it Hellman.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if that was the opening scene. It might have came later because that got him in trouble. He got the ass whipping and shit. But
now I can believe it. He's a killer actor. I've seen. He showed me his reel once, and he's brilliant. I don't even think he realizes how brilliant.
Yeah, I wonder why he retired. Dude, let's get him to act in the next shit we make.
Yeah,
do it.
But Gail, if you watch this shit, come on our show, dude. We fucking love you. Be awesome to find out Charlie Dalton's favorite movie.
Yes. One of the best guys.
So one thing we've talked about with this podcast, we wanted, of course, to just be like people geeking out. They love Star Wars as a kid, reawakens the kid in them every time they watch it. But also, like, we had our Cactus Jack actor, Michael Gall, on last week, and his pick was Inherit the Wind. You ever see that movie? About the Scopes Monkey trial? Yeah, trial. Famous movie. Spencer Tracy. He said this film, Gall was a kid who was in Lutheran school, right? And he planned to go to the monastery when he graduated. He saw this movie. It made him give up religion and want to be an actor. So that is like the height of what how a movie can impact you. You know what I mean? They could change the very course of your fucking life forever.
Yeah.
Now, Raiders, maybe it sets you on the path of writing, you know, like you said, might have changed the course of your life in that manner. But are there any other movies that have impacted you in this way outside of maybe just exalting in the joy of how awesome it is? Do you have any movie moments you remember where like, wow, it changed how you saw something or believed, you know?
You know, for me, I wouldn't really learn about like favorite writers until I got a little older. But for me growing up, also, Walter Hill was one who his work just kind of shaped a lot of who I am. Things like The Warriors and, you know, his writing was just brilliant. So Walter Hill, John Carpenter, you know, I was born in 85, but I ended up discovering a lot of these things by the time I was 7, 8, 9, you know, at the Blockbuster. Yeah, I grew up in a household. I grew up in a household where nothing was off limits from a very young age. I could watch anything.
Same. And I weep for my kid and his mom covering his eyes. No offense, I love you, babe.
They used to my mom used to drop me off at the theater by the time I was like 8, 9 years old, and I would get a stamp that let them know I was allowed to go into the R-rated film. She would buy the ticket, they would stamp my hand, and I would go in and see it.
Again, to moms, letting kids watch this shit. Don't nerf the world.
This stuff all kind of shaped and informed my DNA, you know, both as a person and, you know, eventually knowing that, you know, I wanted to be a storyteller. You know, when you're growing up in a single parent household and, you know, mom's working all the time to put food on the table, you know, you don't always have a lot of friends over. So you end up
entertaining yourself.
And sometimes, you know, that was the Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. And, you know, most of the time it was turning on a movie on the VHS.
Yeah. So much more, especially when now games have changed and evolved to where the storytelling is stellar sometimes and super immersive versus those earlier games. But back in that day, movies was it, man. It was the shit. TV was slumming it. TV sucked, right? In the 90s or whatever compared to the golden era of TV that we're in now. Movies was where it was at, dude.
Yeah, it didn't speak to me. Television wasn't something that, you know, with very few exceptions, really, you know, spoke to the soul in the way a great movie did.
All in the Family, you know, Roseanne. There's some of these shows that spoke to real issues and just movies.
But yeah, for me it was guys
take you, dude. You know,
for me it was characters like, you know, it was like Big Trouble in Little China. It was you know, again, it was The Warriors. It was Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, I was about to say Eddie Murphy, dude. Shit.
48 Hours.
That's Walter Hill, right? 48 Hours.
Yeah, 48 Hours was Hill. Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte,
that one, great movie.
Man.
You know, Midnight Run is another one that you know,
a lot of people love that movie.
As a kid, you don't always understand everything that's happening. You kind of get enough of the gist of it, and then you can go back and watch it later, whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, and you pick up all these different nuances that you didn't really grasp as a child. You know, like Terminator. Okay, I watched Terminator 2 before I ever saw the first Terminator.
Right.
So growing up, you know, it was the idea of Arnold as the hero in this movie.
But he was the villain in the first,
And then I saw T1. I was probably like 8, 9 years old. I saw Terminator 1, and I was like, what the fuck is this? He's not the good guy.
That's great.
But then I got older, and I'm like,
a great subversion.
Fuck yes, Kyle Reese is great. Like, Kyle Reese is awesome. I love that character. You know, but growing up, he seemed boring. Almost, right? Kyle Reese almost seems boring as a character when you're, you know, when you're young. You just want the badass robots killing each other.
The muscle dude, the guy who looks like an action figure, you know.
Yeah. But then you get Kyle Reese, and he's got, you know, that great that great coat he's wearing and the sawed-off shotgun and come with me if you want to live, and that great line about how the Terminator, won't stop
for anything.
Won't stop for anything until you're dead. And he's great, and his sacrifice he makes at the for her, everything.
I don't know when we're going to get gonged out of here, but I want to touch on this again. And this is something that watching this movie with my kid, mom covering his eyes, you and our last guest talking about watching Jaws now. His mom let him watch anything, and how our parents did the same, or our mom, single mom, did the same. Where isn't that so much better for you? Like all of these kids' movies 100%. All have the same fucking message in it. We have to work together. We have to learn to fucking do it. And the same 3 platitudinal thematic messages in every movie. These movies that we shouldn't have been watching, quote unquote, introduced us into the world. It's like people might want to call it like a gateway thing to wickedness or iniquity or something, but it's like, no, it's a way to be introducing these things. It's like a soft launch or something into
the complexity of the
real
world.
life.
Exactly.
That's the other thing.
I mean, Witness, like, because Harrison Ford led me to Mosquito Coast and Witness by 8 years old. You know what I mean? You're watching these kind of films.
Witness was another one I saw very young too. Love that movie from the get-go.
Amazing. But I think we're just doing our kids a disservice.
Yeah.
I mean, by trying to protect them too much. We try to shelter them.
Yeah, and it's because it's just lazy parenting. You don't want to confront, you don't want to have these complex conversations with your kids or whatever. So you're going to nerf the world, and they're only going to watch kid shit until they're a bunch of bumbling addicts who can't handle reality and shit.
They're not ready.
Snowflakes or whatever.
They fundamentally aren't ready. By the time they go to college, they're not ready to face the real world. The world that isn't, it's not forgiving. It's not a sheltered place. There's no do-overs either. And there's nobody to hold your hand. And they get there at 18 and they've been so sheltered and protected. Right. Some of them, it's like we suddenly throw them into the deep end, sink or swim. And
the sense of entitlement comes out of that too. I remember watching shit like The Killing Fields, like Roland Joffe's The Killing Fields, like heavy shit about the Khmer Rouge fucking genocide when I'm like 8 or 9 years old, And it's like, oh, I don't got it that bad. Or you watch movies about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and shit or whatever.
Right.
Like you're like,
I'm glad that ain't happening.
I'm fighting for my fucking life. My stepdad might be a dick today, but I'm not fighting for my life against some leather-faced fucking maniac or whatever.
Yeah, I was 13 or 14, maybe it's 14 when Magnolia came out. I saw that in theaters. I was lucky enough I got to see Eyes Wide Shut in theaters.
Same.
We saw Kubrick's last film. I feel really, really fortunate that I got to see that movie.
Yeah.
On the big screen.
I feel like cinema is so lost to this generation. First off, there's this glut of shit. There's so many movies being made, even by people like ourselves. That's probably part of the problem with the democratization of the process by this technology is that everyone can make a movie. So now there's so many movies. There's so many, like everyone has a podcast. Every dentist has a podcast. We have a podcast. Everyone's making movies. It's just this glut of material. Back then, it was kind of streamlined by these 5 studios, essentially. The cream kind of rose inside. They made a lot of stinky shit, but even then they had stars in them at least, and
but there's a sense of discovery too. You went to the video store. Exactly. You didn't know what you were looking for. You thumbed through each genre. You went through the titles, sometimes alphabetically, sometimes not. You had to, it was the cover art would intrigue you. You read the back of the box and you took a gamble.
Was the trailer before a movie not sometimes the most magical moment for me? The trailers and just when the Paramount or the Universal or the
the
Fox
production cards.
Yes, whenever the studio card came up, because that moment is just nothing but potential.
It's promise.
The potential, the promise that I'm fucking about to be taken away and transported. So even if the movie sucked, that moment though, it's always like a drug.
It's once upon a time sort of thing.
Take it back to Raiders. Opens with the Paramount mountain that then turns into the real physical mountain.
In every film, right? Didn't I know? And the second one, he did that too with the gong.
Oh, did he?
It was on the gong. In the opening scene. I'm pretty sure that was like a running thing. But
the Paramount.
Did he do it in the third one too?
Yeah, we'll have to check that.
I don't know. The Paramount Mountain, though, I know. I was watching again, Making of Shit this morning, and they were shooting in Hawaii. That opening shit. And one of the location scouts, he told like the morning of, he just had the idea. They were like, Spielberg was always having ideas, great, amazing ideas, but you always have to scramble to fucking accommodate his idea. So he's like, you know what? I really want to segue from the Paramount Mountain into a mountain. So find me a mountain here in Hawaii that looks like the Paramount Mountain. So the dude had to drive around for like 2 days fucking looking for this mountain. So he's like, and they found the perfect one, you know.
It's like a last minute improv almost, and it becomes the fucking opening shot.
So iconic.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. The fact that they held Indy's face back for so long until he whips the fucking gun out of dude's hand and steps out like, I'm the man.
That's a good point.
So cool.
The fedora.
And that was something, again, I felt lost to my kid because he watched Crusade first.
Yeah.
So he knew what Indy looked like. It's like, you really got to give him the original shit.
Yeah.
Don't let him have the video games. Just hold it back, man. That's what I'm trying. Parents out there, hold it back until they can really experience it the way you did if you want to connect.
You're alone, right?
Yeah. Is it cool if I start filming now?
No, when we get inside.
Why are you here?
I just thought it was really interesting, that someone hasn't left their basement in 6 months, not even to use the bathroom. Is that true?
Why would I want to go out there? I got everything I need right here. That's what's wrong with most people. They're weak-willed pussies and parasites who buy into that whole it takes a village bullshit. You know how many aliases I've used calling into radio shows? I've had it up to my goddamn gills with the systematic feminization of this country.
I don't think more than we want to. Get your own damn show if you think you've got that much to say.
You live in your mom's basement.
Get down! Fuck you! What's so special about my loser son?
You really do hate your own mother.
She's a woman. Why wouldn't I?
There's some disconnect there, and if I can find it, what is hate? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
You want to know what gender you are? Reach down the front of your fucking pants and shoot fucking kite. Black Lives Matter. Do you call horses slaves? Liberal fucktard. Enough with the parades and the rainbow flags.
Dude, this guy's... it's like pure hate, man.
Want to see something really fucking cool?
This guy is a fucking animal. He's got himself on a leash. He's itching to get off that fucking leash. And he's gonna fucking kill some people.
What a fucking show.
Stop!
What do we hear?
Look at me! Look at me!
We're gonna help you show them the light. We're gonna change the world.
This is Cactus Jack coming to you live from a studio audience.
To the man who calls himself Cactus Jack, we have watched as you have rocketed to infamy.
And you wonder why these cornered animals lash out. Pick a fucking side.
And now, we have watched as you have called for literal blood.
I know you're out there listening. It's buzzing in your ears, burrowing into your brain. Do it, Jack.
You're gonna love this. I pulled that trigger on that motherfucker's head.
Your VPN will not shield you. The darknet will not hide you. You and your kind are finished.
You think I'm scared of you?
Come and fucking get me!
Might I be your neighbor?